executive members of the parliament have all participated in this, online meeting. And tomorrow you have audience with His Holiness, which we'll talk a little later. But with that, I want to welcome you, and the floor is yours. And thereafter, speaker will speak.
Well, very good. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. I think that by starting out by thanking the members of our team, you have underscored that this is a team effort. And so what I want to make sure that you understand as we get started is that our view at the State Department is that we are here to be useful. Our job is to be of service to all of you. Your sense of the goal of what does a vibrant, Tibetan government look like? What does this effort look like? What are your goals? These are for you to set. And for us, our job is to be of service to you as you work through the preservation really of the Tibetan community, of the Tibetan language, of Tibetan Buddhism, and of your own special character as a people. So, I can't tell you how important and how much of an honor it is for me to have been given the responsibility by Secretary Pompeo, and I thank him for giving me the responsibility and the honor of being of service to all of you. But let me start out by just congratulating. I mean, I'm the Assistant Secretary for Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor. And that first word, democracy, you all have just done your preliminary elections. We're very happy that you did that. I think you're to be congratulated. They're important. Those elections are important because they are the means by which each and every Tibetan who votes is able to express their views about the future of your community. And we hope that the Parliament in Exile will continue to develop as a robust institution, that really plays a greater and greater leadership role in the life of everyday Tibetans. And we know just how hard that's going to be because Tibetans are all over the globe. There are great individual communities, but the fact that we're meeting like this today certainly means that it's possible to keep the discussion going about Tibetan language, culture, and religion. And we at the State Department and the U.S. government are committed to helping you preserve that identity. I said something similar to when I spoke with government officials in Nepal. That what we have here is an opportunity for the community to recommit itself to its own identity, to its own uniqueness, and in order to confront the threat of the Chinese Communist Party's plan to basically leave Tibetan Buddhism almost as a mummy, to rob it of all of its internal character and uniqueness and replace it with something that has been, as they put it, sinicized. And so we want to make sure that as we go forward, we have a really good sense from all of you, about what it is we can, as a practical matter, do to be of assistance. It's not our job to preserve Tibetan culture, language, and religion. That's yours. But we can certainly be of assistance. And I can assure you that that here in the United States, there is broad support, bipartisan support across the political spectrum that we support the efforts of the Tibetan people to preserve the very, very unique language, culture, and religion that you have. As from my perspective as a Christian believer, I mean, God has given you a very unique opportunity, and our job is to help you try and preserve that. Now, one of the things and that I'll say that we're going to try and do, and that I'm going to sit and listen to you, because this is really more about you than about others. That my job as the special coordinator officially ends next Wednesday at noon. But in the process, I mean, I don't take these kinds of jobs lightly. I think it will be a while, just as a practical matter, before we get another special coordinator. But we have already begun the process of reaching out to other former special coordinators so that we can stay in touch with you. And you need to tell us. You need to tell us about what it is you think our highest and best use is. You're busy, we're busy, and but if we work together, it certainly takes a lot less time to set up a meeting like this than it does to fly to Dharamsala, as much as I would like to do that. But the other thing that we can do from our end is to help to get the United States government to work to build an international coalition of countries that will help you protect your rights and preserve your unique identity. And we have urged like-minded countries to pass their own versions of the Reciprocal Access to Tibet Act, so that the world can travel to Tibet as freely as the Chinese can travel in our countries, and bear witness to what's going on in Tibet. But we can't do this by ourselves. In fact, we shouldn't be doing it by ourselves. You are the most effective advocates. You know the cause, you know the issues, you know the divisions within your community. But as I was telling one of my colleagues this morning, the only way we can get people who have differences of opinion together is for the leadership to give all of us something interesting and useful and practical to do. If we can work together on practical things, I think in the process we will learn that, notwithstanding our differences, we are all people of good faith, and we're willing to work hard to get the job done. I look at the many Tibetan youth leaders here in the United States with whom I have met and elsewhere. It's just incredible. The strength, the talent, the ingenuity, and the conviction to advance the Tibetan cause. They've seen the attempts by the CCP to shut down their activities, and so we're here to be as useful as we can, and with that, I'm going to stop and listen to hear what you have to say. But I do thank you for the opportunity this morning, and at least this morning here, this evening your time, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say and very practical suggestions you might have. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now I would invite Honorable Speaker Pema Junela to say a few words of welcome and share his views on Tibet issue in general and the US government. So now.
Thank you so much, Robert Destro, Honorable Special Coordinator for Tibet, Dr. Lobsang Sengye, President of CTA, and Cabinet Ministers, and my colleague. I, on behalf of the Tibetan Parliament in exile and Tibetans in and outside Tibet, extend my hearty greetings to you. I will speak on Tibetan Parliament and how it functions very briefly and time assigned to me. The democratization of the Tibetan polity has long been an aspiration of His Holiness the Great 14th Dalai Lama, and was gifted to Tibetan without our struggling for it. On the 3rd of February 1960, at Bodh Gaya, the secret pilgrimage site, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama said that the old Tibetan system will not be practiced as before, and further advised that it is important for Tibetan in exile to set up a democratic secular system of governance. As such, elections were duly held and 13 representatives, 3 from each provinces, 4 from Buddhist schools. And thus on 2nd of September 1960, the first member of Tibetan Parliament and was how for the first time democracy took place. Since then, this day is observed as the Tibetan Democracy Day. Until 1990, the number of members of Tibetan Parliament wasn't fixed. It was in the mid of 1991. The number of members in the Tibetan Parliament increased from 12 to 46. And now we have 45 members of Parliament. The composition of the members of Parliament is such as 10 members from each of 3 provinces, India, Nepal, and Bhutan. 2 members each from 4 schools of Tibetan Buddhism and pre-Buddhist born religion, while 2 members each from Tibetan communities in North America and Europe, and finally once from Australasia. Parliamentary sessions are twice a year with an interval of 6 months in accordance with Tibetan Charter. Budget session is held in March and general session in September. During the September general session, the Tibetan Parliament reviews annual reports of the Tibetan departments and its branches, Kashak. And wherever needed, the Parliament questions the Kashak and advises them as well. Kashak is answerable and accountable to the Parliament. Like India, we have also 3 pillars of democracy: the judiciary, the legislature, and executive. But most unique features of the Tibetan democratic system is that it is partyless, where the public has more choices and power in electing their representative. I want to conclude by saying that a renowned Indian freedom fighter, intellectual, socialist, political leader, and strong Tibet supporter, late Sri Jai Prakash Narayan, also believed in the ideology of partyless democratic system and supported this concept. Is one of his books where he said that in a partyless democratic governance, the politicians will prioritize their nation. On the contrary, in party system, the focus is more on their own parties and less on the nation. As I have been asked to speak for 5 minutes owing to time constraint, I will wrap up here. It was an immense pleasure to meet you virtually, and I hope to meet you in person in the next future. I congratulate you once again and wish you good luck in your new responsibility as the Special Coordinator for Tibet. Thank you, Rashidullah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, I want to thank Honorable Speaker for representing the Tibetan Parliament Exile and sharing with you the partyless democracy that we have. And the Parliament, in a sense, represents and reflects Tibet, all 3 provinces of Tibet and 4 Buddhist sects and the indigenous religion called Pen. So, our Parliament, represents and reflects, Tibet. So, and all, as you can see, other members in, monk robes represent different sects, and then other members of the Parliament represents 3 regions. So they all are represented on the screen. So on behalf of the Parliament, they welcome you, Special Coordinator, and other senior officials of the State Department. Now, as you want to hear more voices, I would request my senior colleague, Kalun, or the Minister of Religion and Culture, to say a few words, because you talked quite a bit on religion and culture.
Hello, everybody. Honorable Special Coordinator, first of all, I'm very honored to be with you all virtually. And I would like to, first of all, thank you and your office and your colleagues, especially for the great support of the religious freedom in Tibet. And more particularly, it was quite historic to pass a bill and sign it into law about the next reincarnation of His Holiness the Great 14th Dalai Lama. That really meant a lot to us. And we still can't believe that such a thing could happen by a government and people like the United States. So we are extremely, extremely thankful to all of you. And from our side, we'll do our best. We'll continue through generations to preserve our national cause and all the religious and cultural cause, and with maximum effort also to help the mankind and the whole world through our religious heritage. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I would request Honorable Finance, Kalyan, because as we discussed last time, we get quite a bit of funding through USAID and DRL and PRM, and you all sit in the same building. So and he wants to convey his gratitude, and especially about the direct funding.
Rashidullah to all, and especially Happy New Year to everybody, especially to Special Coordinator, Honorable Destro, and the members of his team. Besides political support from the United States, the financial support is extremely important. We run our government or our administration without any collection of taxes. Whatever resources which we have in Tibet being used by the People's Republic of China, the only thing is that some sort of funding or some sort of contribution, national contribution by the Tibetan people. But last 2 days, we're in the process of budget approved by the cabinet under the chairmanship of Honorable Sikong. And day after tomorrow, we'll be finalizing our budget approval, and it will again tabled before the Tibetan Parliament in exile. And the financial support from United States government and people plays extremely major support, help from the budget of this Kashyap. That is why I would like to thank the government and people of the United States for supporting us for the last so many years, and also going to support in the future also. More importantly, there is a direct link between the United States aid plus the CTA. So very recently, the United States aid have approved to give direct funding to the CTA, Central Tibetan Administration. And I'm very thankful on behalf of my colleague, as well as behalf of Tibetan people, thankful to the US government for recognizing our work and giving direct funding. And now with this also, I would like to request you to increase direct funding, whatever we have given right now, to larger portion, so that we are able or capable of our own work, so that we could use our work properly. If you look at our project implementation, be it health, be it culture, be it sustainability, be it education, whatever support which we get is 100% used in the grassroots, that you can see the result. So our accounts are being checked properly. With this, I once again thank you. Can again appeal you to increase the direct funding a little more, so that we were able to run effectively whatever funding which we get, we could use next month. So this is my appeal on behalf of my colleague here. Thank you.
As special coordinator, as you heard, in the bill also, it said that, Tibetan community in South Asia and to CTA, no less than $9 million be granted every year. So we have been receiving, $9 million every year, and $6 million from USAID and $3 million from DRL, now which will be soon transferred to USAID as well. And the good thing is USAID agreed to give us direct funding, almost $1 million last year. Now, we are requesting that it be increased to $3 million so that we can run our own administration without, sharing what we call quote unquote indirect, cost to the recipient organization. So that's the request from the finance Kalyan. Now I would like to call on the education Kalyan, who also studied in the US, did her PhD there. So, and is a recipient of the funding as well. So education Kalyan Prema Yangzila.
Thank you, my hearty congratulations and greetings to Honorable Special Coordinator Robert Destro and the senior staff who are present here today, and our Honorable Sikung, our Honorable Speaker, and members of the Parliament and my colleagues. I wanted to express on behalf of all the Tibetans and all the younger Tibetans who are still in school and who are still continuing further education in the colleges, I wanted to express our heartfelt gratitude to the US, the government of United States of America and the people for the generous funding that we have been receiving over the years. For more than 30 years, we have been able to send students to US through the then known as the Fulbright Scholarship. And I think we have, I'm not very 100% sure of the number, but I think we have been able to send more than like 400 students, and I'm one of them, Pangan Sikyong is one of them. And we have been very, very lucky, and we have had this wonderful opportunity to get education in the United States, and then to be able to come back to our community and to serve our community. And I think without that, for example, for myself, I don't think I will be able to give the contribution that I have been able to give now without that scholarship. So we are very, very grateful. And I wanted to appeal to you to continue to support our youth who are going into the US for further studies, and also to, if there's a way for us to send more students, because I think over the years, we have the number of students that we are able to send has been decreasing. So we would love if we are able to send more students each year, because I think with the education in the United States and with the knowledge and the experience that they have gained in a different education setting, and being able to come back and contribute and serve in our community is actually the best way to be able to use the knowledge and the education that we have gained So that was one thing that I wanted to share. And another thing, as my colleague, Finance Minister mentioned about the direct funding that we received, my department is, we received a major chunk of that money and the funding, and we have been able to support programs that are directly linked to the development and sustaining and preservation of Tibetan language and culture. So we are very happy that we have been able to receive that fund and be able to implement many projects that will actually help us in building a strong foundation of Tibetan language and culture and to sustain it for the many years to come, beginning from our schools. So I think those are two that I wanted to mention. So thank you very much.
So as Honorable Education Kalin mentioned, she was a beneficiary of the Fulbright program. Those days we used to call Fulbright program. Now it's called Tibetan Scholarship Program. So it's run by the through the State Department. So other senior officials can take note, and perhaps there could be an increase in the number of students going to study in the US. That will be very helpful. As you can see, the former Fulbright scholarship recipients have reached the highest level of Tibetan leadership, and that's your contribution, that's your achievement. And of the direct funding of the almost $1 million, little more than half went to the Department of Education for, as you mentioned, special coordinator for cultural preservation for Tibetan language. So we want to make sure that the third generation of Tibetans speak, read, and write better Tibetan than the second generation of Tibetans like us. And we are achieving that goal. So our education policy and its implementation is a success story, because our literacy rate is 94%. And literacy rate in India is 82%. So our literacy rate is better than Bangladesh and Pakistan. So even though we are refugees, because we run our education system so well, the result is very, very successful. So now I want to urge the Home Kalin to speak on behalf of this department and gratitude towards the US government.
So, Tashidele to everyone. I will just begin by telling that I'm just looking after the entire Tibetan settlement in Nepal, Bhutan, and India. So we have 45 different Tibetan settlements scattered in 10 different states of India. So till now, you see, we don't have, since we are being exiled, and we don't have any kind of economic policy. So our CTA's economic policy is more based on our host country. So there can't be two economic systems in one country. So as I mentioned earlier, that our economy is more based on our host country. So result, you see, now we can't, whatever the funding we get to make development, both for education, health, anything else, you see, for this social economic, are more dependent on foreign donors. So we can't have sort of resources to make our own sort of money for running the administration. So till now, whatever the grant we received from United States as well as from other donor agencies, what I'm really very proud to tell today that whatever fund we received by CTA, there is something to be seen in the area of operation. So meaning thereby, the money we received is entirely sent for the purpose for which it was meant. No penny of amount is being kept by anybody. So this is very clear. And we are very kind that since 1990, we have been received a substantial amount of grant from USAID, and what CTA is today is partly because of your financial assistance, without which this would have not been possible. So with this, I would like to thank every one of you for your generous help, and we look forward receiving the same amount of money, if not more. Thank you so much.
Robert, last time you said you want something practical, project oriented to do. So you're getting a lot of requests. So I hope you're taking notes and it will all be approved by the State Department, huh? So actually, if you had you come to India, if you have visited the settlements, you'll be very proud. This is the most well-run, self-sustaining, the refugee groups that you will ever see. Very successfully well run, and it's almost we can say it's almost corruption free, because as I said, this is a labor of love for us. Our salary, which we just increased, now we are going to increase from April 1st. I think it will be a little less than $500 a month. That might be a little less than your per diem when you go to some major cities in the world. So that's our monthly salary. So we all are serving here because this is a labor of love. So all the projects, as Home Kalyan said, it goes directly to the settlements. And when you grant us something, you can visit and there's something to see, concrete, very next year. So USAID accounting came and they said they're very strict and they're very vigilant. And they went through our books. Instead of spending 5 years, after 3 days, they said, book is so good, we are done. What can we do? I said, you have 2 days, why don't you go hiking in Dharamsala? And that's what they did. So had you visited, we could have shown all these things to you, and you and your team and the US government will be very proud. So now I'll request Health Department, Health Kalyan also say a few things. And then Julian Nang and it's also Surbalaya, Ching is Sunga de Yubaina, Suro Nanya de Indican good choice.
Honorable Destro, Honorable CTO, my colleagues, Honorable Speaker, former Speaker, and standing executive member of the Tibetan Parliament in exile. At the very outset, I wish to extend a very warm appreciation, in fact, from the deep core of my heart, on behalf of my office as well, that is Department of Health, to the government as well as people of United States for this historic law that has been promulgated in this month itself, which Honorable Sikyong has mentioned earlier, as well as my colleague has mentioned earlier. And at the same time, many of the things already been mentioned by my colleagues. So in order to to put more stress on that, to re-emphasize that, the financial support that we've been having from the government of United States, under USAID, under PRM, has been one of the basic foundation, at least in terms of my department, for running it successfully, for making services, providing services to the exiled Tibetan community. So it's been the basic foundation or the basic, factor in realizing all the aspirations that is being put forth by the public in general, to the department, to the Kashag as well. And Department of Health, though partly it may sound that what exactly this Department of Health is doing, because health is a subject that state wherever we are residing is being taken care by that particular host country or host place. So still then we have somewhat 7 big hospitals and 5 public health center. That comes total, and another one in Dharamshala itself, 13 public health center, and then plus 30 plus clinics are there. Through that, we provide the services, particularly the primary services in health sector. Secondary and tertiary are being referred to the higher or the bigger hospitals in the cities. So that primary services are provided by health department. And particularly during this pandemic time, USAID has been very generous, as well as PRM, and then also this Kashak itself, our executive colleagues have been very supportive in, combating this very menace that we had to pass through. So far, under the Tibet Self-Reliant and Resilience Program, TSRR, the large amount of program of health department has been taken care under this TSRR. And to cite an example, one of the very popular program or the project is Tibetan Medicare system. And Honorable Destro and colleagues here present over here would be happy to learn that. Exile Tibetan community, particularly in India, we don't have the exact figure. I don't have the exact figure right now, but then it's estimated that around 40% of the population, nearly 40% of the population is being taken care or being, would you call that, enrolled under this Tibetan Medicare system, which itself is a huge achievement. When I'm saying 40% means there are some numbers which are also enrolled in some other their own institutional programs, institutional medical programs under that. So in total, I think 40% of the population is enrolled under medical program. Then there are hepatitis program, which is a big challenge for the Tibetan community in exile. And then the WASH program, particularly probably you must have, some of you must have also visited Ladakh. That is a very high terrain region that's adjacent to the Tibetan border area. And that area, we are giving a WASH program. We are doing a WASH program, water and sanitization, hygiene. So that program is being carried. So that program is also carried out in a very large number. So it's like, it comes in terms of crores of rupees that we are doing it. So these all are, in fact, being made possible because of the support and the sympathy or the love of the people of America, as well as the successive government of United States of America. And the thing that all of my colleagues have been mentioning and assuring is that, and Kongo has been also mentioning all the time, how frugal we are, And sometime I mentioned that, if somebody is, providing like 100 rupees or $100, we actually, at the ground level, we produce it in $110. So there's no question of, in between some losing of something like, in between, losing of the, or resources. So I won't cut it short. So that way, optimum utilization of the resources has been taken care by the CTA since its inception, and we've been very consistent in that. And we have a check and balance. We have an Auditor General's office. We have, of course, this Member of Parliament. The daily, they do, vigilant about the daily activities of the city cabinets and executive works. So that way, this through, though one is the values that we are following it, particularly the guidance and the blessings of His Holiness Dalai Lama, and then another is the support of the United States and particularly in terms of financial support. Earlier we used to have a USHA, then later on PRM and all that. So these all has actually made us or has enabled us to prove ourselves as the model exiled community in this existing world. So where, everybody is appreciative about it. So the credit goes to the guidance and the blessings of His Holiness Dalai Lama, as well as the support and the sympathy and the, from the people and the United States government. So So with this, I would like to wind up. Things are getting more and more, broader and broader. It's getting longer. So I cut down my words over here and extend my gratitude on behalf of my office, as well as my personal deep gratitude to the United States, and my good wishes. Happy New Year to all the honorable members from the United States have present over here. Virtually we are meeting, and hope that in days to come we may have the opportunity to meet personally in the days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As Health Kalyan said, with the funding of the State Department, with the USAID, we have launched, Tibetan Medicare system, so which is not very successfully actually covering 40% of the Tibetan population, and it's a success story. So another major achievement of the U.S. government. Now with that, Robert, do you want to say something? Scott, do you want to say something before I call on members of Parliament to share their thoughts?
Well, let me just let me just make a brief comment. The great challenge, I think, for all of us is to create. Well, we've already created a partnership, and I think the support of the United States government, whether it's USAID or DRL or PRM, it's still all coming from the United States government, and the great challenge is to broaden that base of support. So one of the challenges that we need to face together is to get out there and attract some like-minded governments to also put some money into that pot, but also to encourage both successful Tibetans and others who are sympathetic to the Tibetan cause to contribute to the effort. And so everything you have said is very encouraging. The efforts you have made, the efforts you want to make, and as the staff in my colleagues in DRL know, I often will say, let's get a wish list together and let's see how we can make it work, and that's what we need to do. But the last thing, the great caution that I would leave you with is that we cannot it cannot appear that the United States government is your sole source of support. That is precisely the message that the Chinese Communist Party would want to say, that this is not real, that's not Chinese, it's not Tibetan, it's American. And it's certainly not that. So in order to preserve your language, history, and culture, we have to get other people to help you do that, not just us. And so part of that is going to be the challenge of reaching out across the Tibetan diaspora first, and then having them, take the efforts of going to their host governments, to the governments under which they live, and seeing if they can't get you some support as well. There's plenty of private sector sources for all of these laudable projects, and like I say, as I am within the next week or so, will no longer be in my government. That leaves me more flexibility to make some practical suggestions. Unfortunately, those practical suggestions all involve a lot of hard work, but nonetheless, it's worth the effort. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor back to you, Mr. Sikyang, and let you take the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Destro. Actually, just to let you know, we have something called freedom tax. Every Tibetan contributes, and it's, even freedom has tax. So the finance department collects the tax, and that also is the basis of our resources. And then the individual Tibetan sponsors Tibetan children going to college, going to school. So those things are all done. And then we have also approached the government of Canada and Europe and a few other countries to do so. So all are chipping in. So we are, yes, branching out and not trying to put all the eggs in one basket, but definitely US is the biggest basket. So we just want to increase the basket or the pie, so to speak, So with that, because now all the cabinet colleagues have spoken, and I would like to see whether the Lao Soto Surba and Dini Den Sokshu Indala. So Suba Sixurona. Unmute Cheshana. Okay. Soto Surba Hain Sumunda. And Sokshu. Twindi Surona.
Yes, sir. Actually, I have nothing to deliver some special things on behalf of the Tibetan Parliament in exile, but Speaker has already briefed about the Tibetan Parliament, the democratic system. Honorable Special Coordinator Robert Destro, it is a very, I think, pleasure to be meeting with through the webinar, and this is unfortunate because of the China's corona virus, as many times the President Donald Trump has mentioned, and it's exactly because of that we are meeting through the webinar. And I have heard many things from you and also from our cabinet, and then from the speaker. Actually, from the 1998 to till the 2020, the United States has passed and several resolutions and act. Even from the 1987 to till the 2020, most of the, I think, the European parliamentarians, and then some of like Coastal Asia, in New Zealand, in Australia, is also able to adopt the numbers of resolutions and act in favor of the Tibet's coast, the human rights violations, and the preservation of the Tibetan cultural and genocide inside Tibet, and particularly for the resolve of the Tibet issue through dialogue and through the negotiations. And I've seen the 2020, the Tibet Policy and Act, the supported act, even in the 2002, I also mentioned. The one important point is also mentioned in under the mechanism, under the special coordinators. I have seen the big point, how to resolve the Tibet issue, and through the dialogue and through the negotiations. And so this is, I think, I feel most important, if really through your office and with your initiative, try to resume the dialogue and negotiation to resolve. And that will be, I think, much more helpful than the others, I feel it. Beside that, I can once again, thanks to your presence and the other, the members of your office. I once again, on behalf of the Tibetan Parliament in exile, entire the in and outside Tibet, and my individual, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And Scott, do you want to say something? So I hope you can visit Dharamsala next time.
Thank you, Sikyong. And let me just say that while Special Coordinator Destro will be leaving on January 20th, I, my colleague Daskar McDonald, Stephanie Sandbeck, and Anton Jonganil, all on this call, as well as several other career employees of DRL, will continue with this important work on Tibet and Tibetan issues. We're anticipating that the responsibilities and activities of the special coordinator for the time being will rest with DRL, and we will do our best to sustain the attention to these issues that Assistant Secretary Destro has initiated. So thank you very much. I look forward to continue the engagement with you and hopefully making a visit to Dharamsala ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Is any one of your colleagues, would like to say a few words from the State Department?
Sir, may I just introduce myself and make a quick comment?
Yes.
Thank you, Sikyong. I'm honored to meet you virtually. I look forward to our continued work between our teams. As Scott mentioned, we do remain here on staff doing the work of the government. I just wanted to quickly underscore the comments of your Minister of Education, Madam Minister. I very much appreciate the comments about free educational exchange and the importance that our Assistant Secretary mentioned about broadening the support base and how that is done through education. I myself benefited from sitting in graduate school classes some 23 years ago with two of your activists, Kelsang and Yudan Aukatsang, who were in class with me. And it is nonetheless impressionable 25 years later that I remember those conversations and the enrichment that came not just from to your community from those exchanges, but I think to all of those, both American and other international students who also had the opportunity then to learn about Tibetan issues, to learn about the Tibetan culture. But with that, I'll stop and pass the mic back over. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Stephanie, do you want to say something?
I was about to. I just want to underscore what everyone else said. We plan to be here for the long haul. And so I want you to feel free to email me anytime, any amount. I will not get tired of it, but we're here to listen and to have it continue on the conversation. So I'm very grateful that you came and you met with us this evening.
Thanks. Anyone else? So anyone would like to say something before we wrap up? Okay, I just want to acknowledge, Stephanie, we have a short video clip of our historic entry to the State Department and, coming out. So in the video, someone you saw is Stephanie here, right? And then Scott wrote a memo to doing the ambassadors from all over the world coming together in DC. In the memo, you have written a paragraph or two on Tibet. So the memo has gone out to all the US ambassadors around the world to treat Tibet as an important issue. And from what we have learned is that in some of the embassies, US embassies like London and other places, they have slowly started contacting representative of His Holiness Dalai Lama and CTA in London and Japan and things like that. So continue pushing for it, Scott. So it's getting traction. And then Robert Destro, he utilized in Chinese language Quanxi, the connection, to push for the US ambassador to the mission in Geneva to organize a major virtual conference on religious freedom. So that's the first ever, I think, conference organized by US mission to the United Nations in Geneva. So all are using the network and connection, and step by step we are getting there. So I'm glad that Fletcher graduate got a bit of information and experience through Yudin Okatsang and others in your class. So I'm glad you all are well informed. So finally, we have to wrap up now. It's almost 1 hour. I want to request your office, special coordinator, as we discussed last time, to write a good memo and a good write-up for the February-March report on Tibet. And if you could emphasize or highlight the historical status of Tibet. We passed the Tibet Policy Support Act of 2020, but in the 2002 Tibet Policy Act, it says occupied Tibet. Tibet is under occupation. And then continue from there. And then the historical status of Tibet, the recent State Department report mentioned Tibet under military control. So all these are important for us. And then to encourage dialogue, and then if you could also emphasize that the U.S. ambassadors in different countries could reach out to our offices of Tibet all over the world. Now that CTA is formally acknowledged by the Tibet Policy and Support Act, so it has an element of legal entity which will be acknowledged by different embassies, and perhaps as one step, easier step is to invite them to their receptions, July 4th receptions, so that our representative could participate in July 4th receptions all over the world, and step by step, they participate in more formal events and joint events, and that's how we build this partnership, and we magnify the voices of the Tibetan people. And finally, I would like to give the floor to Robert if you want to have concluding statement. I must say, anyone who comes as a special coordinator next time, in the next few months, I will be visiting DC. I will tell them, if only you could speak and participate in as many events as possible, what Robert Destro did, it will be an amazing special coordinator for Tibetan issues for us. So we have set a good track record. So thank you very much on behalf of all of us and behalf of the Parliament, and final words and wisdom from you, Special Coordinator.
Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time this evening out of your busy days to meet with us. Thank you for taking the time to come and visit with us when you were here in Washington. The task ahead is really to expand the coalition and to make this a really group effort. You certainly have my support inside the government for the next week, and then outside. And so let's just think creatively about what a good outcome looks like for the great people, culture, and religion of the people of Tibet. That is, we have to keep our eye on what that good outcome looks like. That's for you to decide, not for me. And I can't tell you how honored I am to be working with you. I hope to continue working with you in a private capacity, and how honored I will be this evening, our time, when I get to meet with His Holiness. That is, to tell you that's the honor and blessing of a lifetime would be an understatement. So thank you very, very much for your time and all of your efforts. And I'll wrap it up with that. So thanks again.
Thank you so much. And see you in the evening, your evening, and tomorrow morning. I'll be joining to introduce you with His Holiness.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and your team.